crowbar.
Satisfied.
Yeah.
Satisfied is all you.
Sinatra.
Big Pepe.
Satisfied.
Number 26 takes the mound as he's been called upon to pitch.
Number 26.
Digging in, Salvador Hernandez. He got on top of one and was a ground out victim last time. There for strike one.
Hernandez.
0-1, here's the pitch. Hit in the air down the right field line. But this will land untouched.
Hey, strike this guy out.
The 0-2 pitch. Ooh, tough to lay off there, but it's called a ball 1-2.
Boy, it's hard to sit on an 0-2 fastball. I think that pitch just locked him up a bit. But lucky for him, it was just a little out of the zone.
Able to protect the plate with two strikes. Swing and a miss, and that'll get a groan from the home supporters here. One away.
That was a good job there of using the batter's aggressiveness against him. He was putting up a good fight and fouling a lot of balls also. As a pitcher, it's a
Hello,
great
everybody,
idea.
and welcome to my second game of Road to the Show. We are currently playing the Detroit Tigers, and we are in spring training. We are just starting the 2021 season. And I am a closing pitcher for the Phillies.
Now the 3-0 offering is taking
And so
strike
far,
one.
everything's been going good. Last season was pretty decent. However, the Phillies did have a bit of a struggle trying to make the playoffs. The biggest problem was that we couldn't close any games out, and that the pitching before me couldn't hold on to games that were most important.
And that one misses badly.
But we're looking forward to a new season, and I hope to see myself in October playing whoever from the American League for the World Series.
Shot toward the second baseman. On to first, and that will seal matters here this afternoon. 10-1, the final lopsided score in this ball game. The Phillies posted 15 total hits in the ball game.
Best thing about being a closing pitcher is that you don't really have to worry about the majority of the game getting out of hand. You just only have to worry about very little going on in the game. However, though, you still do have the game on your hands depending on the closeness of the game. Looks like for spring training we are going to be playing the Atlanta Braves next. Nope, never mind. We are going to be playing the Toronto Blue Jays. Biggest thing I've noticed with the closing pitchers is that a lot of them are used very seldomly, very rarely in some cases. They'll go like a starting pitcher. They'll usually stay with one, and then they'll close for them. But depending on your stats and depending on what the manager is wanting to do, then that'll dictate whether or not you will close that game or not if they want to save somebody else's arm.
What are your final thoughts on what we've seen?
Yeah, just non-competitive pitches in some big situations, Dan, and the offense took full
advantage. All right, looks like we got a good play out in center field on the run. Got one out, top of the eighth. Score is 9-3. As I mentioned before, these are some of the games that you have trouble with trying to keep hold of when the rest of the game has not gone our way.
To get something started here with one gone in the inning. And that's in there for his strike 1-1. One out, nobody on. A ball and two strikes now. Alford.
So my 3 pitches are my fastball, my slurve, and my knuckleball. I don't really use my knuckleball too much because it's extremely hard to control, but not very many people can hit it too far because of the lack of movement from the ball.
Stood there and looked at 4 straight pitches. Hopefully, we'll see him get a little bit more aggressive next time.
Go right now, fellas, right now.
Into the box, Jim Lang. As the first pitch to him is
Usually righty or left-handed batters, I will start on what would be the outside corner for a right-hander, but the inside corner for a left-hander. And I usually will start off with a fastball. If I'm wanting to, I'll throw a slurve or 2 in there just to make sure they're, staying off of my, my fastballs. Biggest thing is trying to keep the batter off balance, trying to make sure they keep guessing that nothing's really going on between you or the batter. Looks like we lost a not-so-close game, 9-3, to the Toronto Blue Jays. I ended up pitching 1 inning with 1 strikeout, 0 earned runs, and 0 walks, which is a good thing. Last season, my ERA was around 1.75. Biggest thing to remember too is that when you're a pitcher, you're trying to bolster your stats and help your team out as much as you can, especially being the closer. To start off my career, I was in the AA affiliate for the Phillies, and I was doing very, very well. And I got called up to the manager's office one day and got called straight to the MLB. My stats were superb, according to my manager. And as he said, not very often do many get to go to the MLB straight from AA. It looks like this game I'm going to be closing against the Baltimore Orioles.
Number 26 is on, and he'll take over on the mound in relief. Scott Kingery is also into the game.
So it looks like I will be pitching against Chance Cisco, the catcher for the Orioles.
Cisco, and he'll start out the bottom of the 8th inning.
Alright, so my catcher's calling for my knuckleball.
First pitch on its way, and he takes ball 1.
Number 4, Scott Kingery.
And he'll try to hold back the swing, but he'll
biggest thing too is one thing I'd like to see out of MLB The Show in future years is a little bit more consistency with the umpires, because there are pitches that can be very close either way, and a lot of them will not be called. Some of them will be called balls, even if they're on the black in most cases. Another thing I'd like to see is if MLB The Show could use actual umpires from the major leagues. I'm not sure if they can do that, but I would love to see something like that in the future, just to give MLB The Show that extra up on the rest of the baseball games that are out there in the world. And usually on a 2-2 pitch or any count with 2 strikes, I'll throw my slurve, because I love that.
The first 2 men he faces out of the bullpen. Carlos Perez will get the call to pinch hit here, as we'll see what he can do with 2 out and the base is empty. Breaking ball below the zone.
Most times I'll start off with my slurve, and if I go 2-0 count, I'll usually go inside on a batter.
2 balls and a strike.
And the biggest thing too is if they aren't hitting my fastball, I'll try to stick with my fastball on them, because I don't want to give them the chance to speed up their bat head on my off speed. My goal this year is to make the All-Star team in this season. I look forward to closing for the NL. Looks like we lost another tough one, 4-2 to the Orioles. I'm hoping that the regular season is going to go a lot better than the spring training is right now, because we are not doing too good. Looks like this game I had 1 inning pitch, 0 hits, 3 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, and no walks. This So if you guys want to know a little bit about my player, currently for my pitching style, I'm using Jensen Lewis. I really like the stretch and how his form is. I'm not a fan of the windup just solely because it takes too long for me, and I like to get right into my pitching, and I felt that this has given me the best, and this pitching style is phenomenal. I was traded from AA affiliate Yankees actually to the Phillies in the earliest part of my career. I played for the AA Yankees in 2019, was traded in 2020, and then got called up to the Phillies in 2020. Now I'm in my spring training of 2021. Looks like I'm going to be closing against the Tampa Bay Rays this game.
Number 26 is ready, and he'll take the ball from the manager.
Number 26.
So far I've got 9.2 innings pitched this year, 10 games, and a whole lot of strikeouts.
Has come into the ball game now as he takes over as the new
One thing I do like about the new MLB The Show 19 is that they give us challenges to do. Depending on the challenge and depending on the team and the difficulty level, as you can see, I'm at All-Star Plus, which is fairly high. It's not the highest. I believe Legend is the highest in the game.
Now a fastball,
but
too low here.
I am
and this is a fastball
trying
right on the
to
black, but ruled a ball. It's 2-0 now.
become a good pitcher with what I've got. I would eventually like to be traded sometime to a different team. The Phillies are good, but they aren't what I'm looking for. Trying to look for a team that's going to give me the best opportunity to get to a World Series, especially at the difficulty level that I'm playing.
Pretty special. A ball and no strikes. Choi on at first, nobody out. Good fastball down around the knees there, taken for a strike. And a fastball in the dirt.
One thing too that I noticed is in the higher levels, pitching is
fastball taken, but
more towards the hitter. The hitter gets a lot of calls their way,
this is pulled into right.
and the hitting becomes much better. The timing seems to be on a lot more. The ability to recognize off speed is at a much higher value. But that's just what I have to do to get around it and just pitch around these batters.
When these guys are throwing smoke. That's one of the keys too. When you come in facing guys out of the bullpen, they're being taught to throw strikes.
All right, looks like we turned a good double play. Should be able to get us out of the inning with this next batter.
Daniel Robertson. A couple of RBIs for him already, and a chance for more here.
Robertson.
As you can see, we're already down 4-0. I don't want to open up the score any more than it is. Looks like we are 1-2 right now. I think I'll throw a knuckleball on the inside.
In the dirt and blocked behind the plate. And he will make it back to third safely, as he didn't have much of a chance at advancing that time. Hit out towards second.
One thing I noticed too is, as I found myself, I don't like to pick off a lot. I've never been comfortable with the pickoff move. I've always trusted my catcher's arm behind the plate to get him out at second or third, or even first at sometimes. Biggest thing is trying to control the pace of the game, control the speed, make sure you are listening to where your catchers want you to throw it, and spotting your pitches as well as you can.
Swing and a miss at a ball tailing out of the zone. 2-2.
Alright, I'm gonna try high and inside, see what that'll do.
Pulled high in the air.
Alright, looks like our left fielder's gonna catch it.
He's got it. A great running play, and that'll retire the side. So one run on. Jose Alvarez is going to come on now as he's already up to 10 appearances here in the spring.
Jose Alvarez.
Well, this one had its moments of drama and excitement. In the end, these guys came away with the victory and look on to the next one.
5-2 the final today. The Tampa Bay Rays took the lead in the fourth and held on until the end. Blake Snell takes home the win. So that just about does it for Mark DeRosa, Dan Plesac, Heidi Watney, and our entire crew. I'm Matt Vasgersian. You've been watching MLB The Show.
Also, one thing I would like to see MLB The Show do is put announcers in per the ballparks. Each one has their own unique announcer, and I would like to see that. That would, again, put a little bit more uniqueness into the game. That's just me coming from a gamer's perspective, and something I'd like to see in the future in either the Show 2020 or the Show 21. Alright, looks like this game I'm going to be closing against the Houston Astros. Wish me luck.
Number 26 will take the ball now as the new pitcher.
Pitching for the Phillies, number 26.
Here's Jake Marisnick. He launched one over the wall back in the opening frame.
The right fielder.
And he takes a cold strike, 0-1.
Good pitch right there from the reliever. Tough for hitters to do much with pitches in that location unless they're looking for it.
Behind 0-2 now. Ready with the 0-2. And he fouls this one off. Here's another 0-2. Inside, as that perhaps will back him off a bit. 1-2. Skied into straightaway right. Harper has a read on it. One down.
All right, looks like we have Garrett Cole, who's 0 for 2.
0 for 2 here to start the afternoon. First pitch of the at-bat. And that misses.
One thing I like about throwing against other pitchers is that their stats aren't as well as hitting as the rest of their teammates. Biggest thing is just throwing a lot of, on-speed pitches anywhere around the zone or off-speed pitches, because 9 times out of 10 the pitcher's going to strike out anyway, as so on my slurve.
Keep coming in with the hard stuff until
another thing I'd like to see MLB The Show do is a classic cover. I'd like to see him take somebody who played in Babe Ruth era or Jackie Robinson era baseball and use them as a cover. I think that would give a little bit of nostalgia to the game, a little bit of a throwback. I do see that 19 had come out with key points in the career of a few, like Willie Mays and Babe Ruth and the 2016 Chicago Cubs. I believe just having that throwback would pull in a lot more people to play the game and just give MLB The Show a bigger hype than what it already has.
And that runner will go no further than second, as there are 2 aboard now.
Hey, after back-to-back 2-out hits right now, this pitcher thought he was going to cruise through this inning, and now he's got traffic, and he's in jeopardy with a ball in the gap.
Looks like I'm in a bit of a jam right now. I've got 2 guys on, 2 outs, and looks like I'm throwing against Altuve, who's a relatively good fastball hitter. Biggest thing about Altuve is his speed. That is his big factor that gets him on base a lot and a lot of extra base hits, which has hurt pitching in the past. Alright, looks like we got the 3rd out. I'm not sure if I'm going to be relieved or not.
Here's the
center fielder,
Alright, looks like I was relieved sometime after I had been pinch hit for. We lost another one that wasn't so good, and looks like we lost 9-3. I had 4 balls total, 12 strikes, 2 hits, 1 strikeout, no earned runs. Biggest thing I'm looking for is no earned runs. Doesn't really matter to me about walks or not, as long as my ERA is staying down. It's all I care about, because that's the one thing that's going to get me across on the All-Star team. And voting. I don't think I've closed against the Cardinals. In the past, in these games, the Cardinals teams have been very good against my pitching, but we're going to have to see what we can do against them today in spring training.
Number 26 takes the mound as he's been called upon to pitch.
For Philadelphia, number 26.
Justin Williams will get up off the bench to lead off the home half of the ninth, and they've certainly got their work cut out for them here, so he'll just need to work on getting aboard. First pitch fastball off the plate there, and it's ball 1. A ball and a
Biggest
strike
thing
now.
too, as I said before, about the higher level difficulty in
Now the
pitching
1-1
is batters are a lot more selective
Foul ball left
on what they're
side,
going
and
for.
that'll
They
move
aren't
it to
chasing
1
the
and 2.
close outside
1-2.
pitches anymore.
Runs a bit inside for a
Like
ball.
that, most batters on a beginner level would have chased that. One thing I want to do is be able
The
to
2-2
get
one
my
more
speed
time.
up.
Hit down the line at first.
I picked the filthiest version of a pitcher because I
The
want to have
2-2
my
one more
off-speed
time.
be as
Round
good as
down the
possible.
first baseline. And he'll step
Biggest
on
problem with
first and
these
south
guys
of
is
the
that
eye.
they don't have a lot of speed on them. So
Jesus.
with that lack of
Move into
speed
the
in the
on-deck
later
throw now to
innings,
try to
it
get
doesn't
something
allow
started here with one
for
gone in the inning.
pitchers to be as
Now a good
consistent in
pitch around
striking
the
out
knees,
as
but it
somebody
doesn't
who
quite
would have
catch
the speed
bottom
to
of
do
the
so.
zone. Started to go around, but it's ruled
Although,
strike 1 anyway.
I can spot the fastball very
On the
well
run, this one in
on
him, and
the
he can't
inside or
connect, so he
outside
finds
corner,
himself
high or low.
down 1 and 2 now. The 1-2 is taken below the zone for a ball.
Come on now, here we go.
Lifted in the air out to left. And he will make the
One
play
pitch I'd
out
like to
there,
add
and
to
they're
my
up 2
arsenal
away now.
is a circle change. The thing I like about the circle change is it has a little bit of a two-seam action while still being a changeup. It goes towards the pitching hand of the pitcher, and I love that drop and how it works. Some notable pitchers that have a good circle change are Kyle Hendricks, who plays for the Cubs. I believe that he is the best circle change in the game right now. He has struck out numerous batters with that pitch, and that is just one pitch I'd really love to add to my arsenal.
Your
Number
attention,
26
please.
gets the call
Now
from the
pitching for
bullpen to
Phillies.
pitch in relief.
Number 26. This
Hubert
game
Dyer
for the
will
Phillies.
come on defensively now as
Now
he takes
playing
over at
second.
second. Striding in for Houston, Craig Marquette starting things for his side in the ninth as they face the improbable odds of trying to come back in this one.
Yeah, not a lot of hope at this point. But these guys know these bats still count, at least for their own stats. You can't mill in your chances as a professional.
So it looks like we have a pretty good lead on Houston right now. We've got about, looks like 14-6. We've got a good lead on them.
Here's Jake Marisnik.
I don't believe I'll be giving up a run at all this inning.
Just misses.
So hopefully I can chalk this up as a W.
Bases are empty, one man out. And it's a called strike to even the count at 1. Who jumped the gun a bit on
Biggest
that
thing I like
swing, and
about
he's
my
down 1 and
slurve
2.
is a lot of guys will go chasing after it, especially off the outside corner for a righty or the inside corner for a lefty.
He'll try again, 1-2. And
It's
that
just,
is
it's
swung
got
on
that
and
great
missed,
downward
and things are
motion
starting to
of
look
the
bleak
curveball
here for the
while still
home
having
nine.
that
There are 2
lateral
away now.
movement of a slider.
At the plate, Eric Beam. He'll get to take his first cuts here. Now a Slurve's going to bounce up to the plate as he lays off it for a ball. Slurve in there, strike 1.
Another pitch I'd like to add to my
Bases are
arsenal
empty
is the
here
cut
with 2 men
fastball.
out.
I believe that is one of the most
Hit hard to the right side.
utilized
But
pitches
foul.
in the game. I believe that
Last strike
it's
now
served
for
a huge
Houston.
purpose for some of the best pitchers
Trying to
ever,
hold
such
up
as
there.
Mariano
Appeal down
Rivera,
to first,
who
and
is
no
the
swing.
greatest closer of
Ball
all
2.
time with 652
Has them
saves,
down
I
to their
believe.
Final strike. Here it comes.
One thing that
Neither
kind of
guy
upset me
willing to give
when
in, and
I
the at-bat
created this
will
pitcher,
continue.
when I wanted to
The
be a closing
2-2
pitcher,
one more time.
is
And that's low,
I wanted to
so good out
have
there as he works the count back
Mariano's
full.
Well, you don't want to get caught
pitching
looking
motion.
for the final out. That's a tough
And
pitch to lay off. Impressive.
they didn't have that when I went to look.
Now he'll step off.
As I said before, he's one of the greatest closers of all time, and I don't know how you could have one of the greatest closers of all time in the game.
First pitch of the at-bat. Here's a strike with the breaking ball.
You know, you look at this hitter, he doesn't care about being down 0-1. He doesn't care about having 2 strikes with him. He's got the utmost confidence in his ability to work back into the count and get him something over the heart of the plate.
There's a hard hit.
Alright, we're still looking at 2 guys on, 2 guys out. Still haven't gave up that run yet.
Watch your lips right there, Dad. Sent it back right where it came from.
Strike 1 to start the at-bat.
Alright, we're going to try to get him with the high heat.
In the air, down the line in left. Quinn on the move. He can't get
So it looks
there
like
as
we
it
are going to
falls
give that
in.
1 run up.
And not in time as the run scores.
But I do
Definitely
believe
tried to
that
elevate the heater right there with
we
2
should
strikes,
be
but
able to
way
get
too
this
much
third
on the
out
plate.
relatively
Nice execution by the
quickly.
hitter.
I'm
Here's the first
figuring
pitch
out
going.
too that a lot of the hot zones you can mess around with them a little bit,
A native
but on the better
Pennsylvania
players,
in his rookie year
I wouldn't
here at the
recommend
big
it
league level.
because a lot of them, their power has gotten greater as the levels go up.
Swing and a drive to center field. That one's got a chance. Lays out and he makes a spectacular
And
catch.
looks like my center fielder just made a diving catch to save us a run or 2. And looks like I closed out against the Houston Astros with
exclamation point. I love it.
2 hits, 1 strikeout, 1 earned run, and 1 inning pitch.
Philadelphia Phillies took the lead
Which
in the
isn't
second
bad.
inning and rode
It
that
was a pretty good play out in center.